to week 7. Have the syllabus up here just so we get an idea of what's going to happen in the next few weeks. So we are doing storytelling and feature techniques this week. And then next week is your spring break, though it feels nothing like that. But hey, you get a week of some mental sanity here from class, and then we're going to get right back into it the following week. So I'll go over what we're doing this week, but next week there's nothing. There's going to be no content posted, nothing new. It is your week to relax and refresh. This week, I do have an assignment that I'm going to be giving out, though it won't be one of your exercise grades, but it's going to be very worthwhile for you to do. So we'll talk about that, but that's what this week is. Within these next 2 weeks, and I'm not expecting you to go on to Blackboard and check next week, but if you wanted to, you could. Within these next 2 weeks, I am grading those hard news stories. I'm going to try to get some of them done this week, though I have a feeling it's going to be more of next week, but they will trickle in for you. And so within the next 2 weeks, you'll get those hard news stories. That's really one of the other, I don't say assignments, but one of the other tasks for you is just make sure you take a look at the feedback I gave you for the hard news story. If you want to wait till the week you get back, that's fine too. But make sure that you're taking a look at that feedback, and if I don't get it to you this week, come when you come back on the 22nd. Look for it that week too. Okay, let's go into what we are doing. So this week you're going to be reading chapter 10. There's no quiz though for this week because chapter 10 this week, then you have spring break. The following week you'll have another chapter, I believe it's chapter 15, and that week, the week of the 22nd, it's going to be chapter 10 and chapter 15 combined. So you have a few different ways that you can do this. If you want to just read the chapter down, you feel good, read the chapter now, take notes, and then you'll know that this week you'll take the quiz if you want to do it during the spring break week. Or you can do them, both chapters 10, and again, I'd have to look. I don't remember what the other chapter is. But if you want to read that chapter, then both those chapters the week of March 22nd, you could do that, that same week and take the quiz that week. So you have a few different options here, but I didn't want to try to cram too much because you'll, of course, have some new things coming up on that week. I didn't want to cram everything in there. So read chapter 10. You'll also be reading this feature story, which I'll talk about in just a second. Answer the reflection question that. Review my feedback on your hard news story like I told you. However, you might not get it until the end of the week or next week. I'm going to really try my best to get them all this week, but if it doesn't happen until next week, you won't be able to review it this week, but just make sure that at some point you are taking a look at what I said. And as always, read news every day. So let's talk about what you are doing, though, as far as this feature story. We are transitioning, and chapter 10 is going to go over this, but we're transitioning into feature stories. So you started the semester as a hard news story. That was your last assignment you just did, and we talked about what makes a hard news story. Chapter 10 is going to go over what makes feature stories, but like I was telling you when I was trying to give you some contrast of what a hard news story to a hard news story when I was explaining it to you, if it's a sports game, hard news story is here is the score, here's who scored when, here's who won the game, who was the MVP. The feature story is like, here's a player we're going to highlight and talk about this player's journey to get to this point and what they did in this game, right? Let's take it something else. Let's say it's political. The hard news is here was the bill that was up for the vote. Here's who voted yes. Here's who voted no. The bill passed. What does that mean, right? What did the bill pass? When does it take effect? What's in the bill? That's the hard news story. The feature story might be something like, all right, here's the bill that was passed. Here's someone that's going to be affected by it. And you learn about that person and what this bill changing, what that does for this person, whether good or bad for them, and you learn about them. That's the feature side of it, right? So feature very often is like people, it's profiling, which you're gonna do a profile story. We're gonna talk about when you come back. You're highlighting. It's like almost like a biography, though it doesn't always have to be people. Sometimes it can be an event that you talk about, some event that's every year and why it's special to a community and how it brings people together. So you're focusing on the event. That's the feature story, not what's happening that day at the event, but just the event in general. What does this fundraiser mean to this town? So that's the feature story. You'll learn more about that this week. But what I want you to do is, I think it's, well, not that I think, read chapter 10 first. Get an idea of the book. So I guess now I'm going against everything I said to begin with. because I kind of forgot this part here. But read chapter 10 first. You won't be able to wait until spring break week or the week after. Though what you could do is read chapter 10 and then again reread it or go through your notes more as you get closer to the quiz. But read chapter 10, understand feature stories, and then I want you to read this article. So I chose this article. I just think the way it's written is so powerful and incorporates a lot of the lessons that you're going to learn from chapter 10. I've had students constantly, tell me that it is, it was like an easy read for them, like it really got into the story. So I just think it's a good example here. And I think even maybe the title will draw you in a little bit, right? So it is a long story, but again, like I said, I've had students consistently tell me that it didn't feel long to them. It's an interesting story. So read the story, right? And then after you read that story, and then that's after you read chapter 10, then you'll see here in assignments, you've got this. Write about the lessons and techniques you observe being applied from chapter 10, right? So read about, after you read about chapter 10, connect it to what techniques that chapter 10 talked about that you saw being applied in this article. Talk about other lessons we've learned from the book that you observe being applied. So 10 focuses on feature stories, but of course you've been learning a lot of things, a lot of different lessons about journalism and writing and techniques, and that's going to be also applied in this story. So if you see some other things from other chapters that we read, that's what you're going to be talking about here. What else you learned that you saw being applied. I want you to be specific. Give me an exact line or section from the article when you reference that you observe something being applied, right? So, for example, instead of just saying, I'm just making up stuff right now, instead of just saying, they used colorful language, they used descriptive language. They did a good job using descriptive language. You say, they did a good job using descriptive language. For example, when, Buckley says blah 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 blah, and then you tell us the exact words that was used. That really painted a picture in someone's head, and this, they used adjectives that brought to life, and you talk about the adjectives that they used, right? You're giving me an example. If you're talking about what kind of lead that they used, you're going to reference the exact lead that the chapter says and say why it was that lead. You get where I'm going here, right? So it's not just saying they did a good job with this. It's they did a good job with this, and here's what this was, and here's why. And you're giving me the exact line from the article or the exact reference of it, right? Let's see, where was I? Yep, and that's what I said right there. Must be at least 500 words, which is not very long, so you should be able to get this done fairly easily. Your entry can use bullet points or be written in paragraphs, but the total word count must reach 500 words, right? So if you want to do bullet points, that's just easier going through, and every time you see something, you use a bullet point. If you want to write it out as like a little narrative, as 500 words, that's fine, but just make sure that there is 500 words total in this. That just is, I know it's a little bit of an arbitrary, number here, but it's enough to get some meat, some depth into your responses. Right? There is no grade attached to this. So, Professor Sherrod, no grade, then I don't have to do it. Well, no, this is going to really set you up for your feature story, for the profile story that we're going to be getting next class, that we actually come, not next week, but the following week. By doing this, you will be on track, right? You will be ready to actually start diving into the profile story because you'll have seen seen a great example of one being done. You'll have thought about it already. You'll have analyzed it, and that is going to make you that much better, right? So this assignment is very beneficial to you. I don't do a grade with this one. Well, I don't want to bog you down. I don't do a grade for a few reasons, also with timing coming up next to spring break. But this is for you. This is just, I don't want this to be one that you focus on, worrying about a grade. What I care about is you just doing the thinking of this. Enjoy the article, and then I just want you to get your thoughts down where you can feel like you can get, I'm trying to think of the right word here. I'm very tired right now too. Not unfiltered, but you don't have to feel like, oh, what's the answer that he wants? This is a better way of saying it. What's the answer he wants for this? I don't want that for this one. I want you to really just to examine it and to really try to start to find some connections that, start out to you, and this to be more for, benefit for you to get you on the right track for when you have to write your story. So that's my long way of saying it's not graded, but please do it. Okay, If you have any questions, of course, let me know. But otherwise, enjoy the read, and I will see you all after the spring break. I hope you have a great spring break. Though you, of course, can email me during spring break. I'm not taking off anywhere, so if something comes up, you can feel free to email me if you have any questions on your hard news story. And send me during the spring break. I'll help you out there too. But really, I won't have a video. I won't have anything new posted for 2 more weeks. So I will see you all when you get back. I won't have a tan though.